Welcome to the Hot Rod Hangout Podcast.
We're changing things up. Welcome to the Hot Rod Hangout Podcast.
Whoop whoop.
I'm Ashley.
And I'm Matt.
And tonight's episode is going to be different from pretty much all our other episodes. I'm going to take the lead. And trust me, this is not going to be one you want to miss. So last week we heard you guys do a breakdown of the first leg of this 10-day cruising, car shows, road trip awesomeness.
The most epic, roadcast and the most epic road trip in podcasting 2025.
Oh yes. But now you're home. So we heard the first leg of the trip. So we gotta get caught up on the second half. And last we heard, when you were on the road trip from the Lost in the 50s show from Sandpoint, Idaho, you were cruising through the Redwoods to Santa Maria, California for the West Coast Customs Cruise-In Nationals. So what happened? Tell us all about it.
So I think we ended the last podcast. I don't remember exactly where we ended off. But I believe Todd had already switched trucks. Because we met Dave and Dave from Bad Idea, Ken Saner's other business with the Ford team. We had met them in Washington, so therefore there was a different F-150, newer F-150. So we ended up leaving Todd's truck in Washington or Oregon, I believe. And he hooked his camper to the new F-150 because he lost reverse.
Oh,
it's kind of important when you're pulling a camper backing in and out of spots.
Yeah,
Going down the coast, beautiful scenery, still cold, still windy.
Well, you sent some pictures with your hoodie on and
Yes.
and the pictures of the coast when you finally got there.
It was
they
cold.
were on Facebook.
Yeah, it was cold. But so coming down, once we figured out, once we all got on the same page of what a hill was, from Florida, we don't really have hills. Texas doesn't really have
Flatlands.
hills. So our, hey, are there any hills was a little different than their hills.
Yeah.
Our hills are, did you change speed going up the hill? Yes. Okay, that's a hill. But so once we got that figured out, we kind of got on good terms. 55 did, pretty well going down. It was still pulling a camper. I forget where. I think it was once we just got into California, we made Ken made the decision that the pop-up camper was not making it back to Montana. And also the Woody was having a little bit of overheating issues. For anybody that doesn't know about the Woody, it is a 51 Ford, still has the original flathead, still has a 3 on the tree. So it made 80 horse in 51. It did not gain horsepower over the last 74 years. So even with pulling the pop-up, that was the best trailer that we had to pull behind it. But it wasn't, that car was never meant to do that.
And you got a chance to drive the Woody, didn't you?
I did. I got to check off a couple of things off my bucket list. I had never, I've driven semis. I've always joked that anything with wheels, tits, or tracks I can drive. But I'd never drove a 3 on the tree. So that was the first 3 on the tree car. I waited till the trailer come off and I didn't have to tow anything with it. But we had made it into California. Brian with the Hometown Hot Rodder, me and him rode a lot together. He was dealing with some stuff at the shop, Hometown Hot Rodder garage, and, just dealing with some, owner issues.
Yeah. Putting up with the bullshit.
Yeah. So I was like, hey, we don't have a trailer. Y'all gave me like the nickel tour. I did drive it up to the Stonehenge Memorial for the a gentleman had bought a whole town and he was trying to bring people in, so he built that, a museum. It didn't work. No one came. But that Stonehenge Memorial is everyone from that community that died in World War One.
Oh, wow.
All their names were etched on the stones, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I had drove up that flat grade to get up there, because this was before we figured out what hills were.
Yeah.
We didn't get together on the hill part yet. So I did drive it up that, and so I had a general knowledge, and it wasn't, I drive a stick shift, so it's not like
It's not
completely out of it, but it was just I hadn't driven that car, or that type of transmission yet. So I got to drive a Woody wagon down the coast of California, 3 on a tree. So a couple things off my bucket list. And, by that time we had figured out the heating issue. Not pulling a trailer, it was way more happier.
Yeah.
So we got it down there. The Woody made it. The 55 made it. The chassis swapped. 54 Ford pickup truck made it. Ken had rented a U-Haul to tow the pop-up down.
Yeah.
Because he knew the pop-up wasn't coming home, so he could return the U-Haul.
One-way trip.
Yeah. Well, I guess, and I didn't know this, I guess because here we have big cities, or bigger cities, even though we live in a small town. Like, renting a U-Haul from Montana to Texas would have been like $10. But renting it from California back to Montana would have been like $5,000. Because they don't need U-Hauls
Right.
in Montana. There's plenty.
Yeah.
Whereas California, they do need them. So it was a cheap way to not put more stress on the Woody. So that's what they did. We got into San Maria Friday around lunchtime. Kind of got camp set up, and then the cruise in, or the cruise night. The original plan was for us just to, me and Brian were in the Woody. The rest of them loaded up in the 55. And we, we're just going to, or in the 54 truck was also there. The plan was we're just going to do a lap to say we did the cruise, and then me and Brian were going to park, and we were going to go live and do all this cool content stuff. And I was told I needed to go to the San Maria Inn, because that's where all of the big names kind of hang out.
Yeah.
They kind of do what we were planning on doing. They do a lap, and then they just park.
Yeah.
Or they don't cruise at all because this is their normal. Which that blew my mind. Like, we were all excited and pumped, and it was crazy. And like, everybody's like, this is every weekend. Like, this isn't special. I'm like, no, this is special.
This is not Florida. This is not Florida car culture.
So the cruise was really short.
Okay.
Time frame wise. The distance, it was like a loop on the main drag right there in front of the San Maria Inn. But it was 7 to 9.
Really?
And at 9 o'clock, they just like pulled the barriers.
Oh.
So like, it wasn't like you had to stop cruising.
Right.
You just lost your turnaround point.
Right.
And like, everyone started flowing because it is a real road. So at 9 o'clock, the barriers come up, and now you have normal people.
Yeah.
Which was bad. Because there was a motorcycle that went in and ended up hitting one of the cars.
Oh, jeez.
At like 9:05.
Goodness gracious.
So
granted, I've never really been there. So when you say they take the barriers up, it's 9 o'clock at night. Is it like busy traffic, or is it like Bushnell 9 o'clock where nobody's on the road?
Probably during the day Bushnell traffic.
Okay.
Not like, there's not 100 cars waiting at the barrier.
But there's still enough.
But you're flowing in, and everyone during the cruise, you're cruising 5-10 mile an hour.
Yeah.
It's not like you're ripping. It's not, it's a pretty chill time. Well, then all of a sudden the barriers come up, and I don't know what the speed limit is there, but now you have people trying to do that while cars are still doing 5-10 mile an hour.
Yeah.
But we ended up cruising the whole night. We didn't pull over. Brian went live, Hometown Hot Rodder. But really it was so cool, and the Woody was acting right. It wasn't overheating. So it was just like, hey, let's cruise. And the response that car got was super cool.
Yeah.
And also the car culture out there is completely different than anything I'd ever seen. Mm-hmm. So we're cruising, and, you get the people like, oh, let me take a ride in your Woody, and, adults, and that's fine, whatever, that's cool. Every time we drove by Ken, which is the owner of the 55 and the Woody, we may have had different people in the back seat of the Woody. But like even little kids, like, oh, that's a Ford Woody. And I'm like, you're not even old enough to know what that is. But like, so just because they grow up in it, it's cool. It's the culture.
Yeah.
It is a custom show, which I was like, cool, so, and I dropped the ball, because if I really was looking for a grill for Michelangelo, I should have been looking there. Yeah. Because they have on lock 49 to 54 Chevrolets. That is a very common car.
Well, you even sent me some pictures of 50, I think it was like 53 to 55s you were sending me. And there's, the amount that, and then some of them 2-3 in a row, and you're like, okay, but they're all different still.
Yes. So, and that's a weird thing. And, Ashley's still on the fence. There's potentially a deal that might go through where the 54 may be leaving. But at that point, like, I'm seeing dope ass 54s, 53s, same body style, just different grill. And I'm like, so now I'm sending Ashley like every picture, and I took pictures of a lot of them. But, that car will come down to what Ashley wants to do with it. If she wants to build it, we'll build it. If she wants to trade it away for something, or she wants to sell it and try to pick up something else, we'll do that.
And I'll admit it, I'm a woman and indecisive, so I don't know what I want to do with it.
Right, and I've told Ashley, like, you don't have to keep anything. Like, I just need you to like it enough to drive it.
Yeah.
To let people see it. Everything in our yard's perpetually for sale. The Model A, when it's first done, will be expensive, but it will be for sale. My truck, if you want it right now, it's expensive.
Yep.
Catch me on the right day, you could probably buy it for payoff. And it just goes back and forth. It's a love-hate relationship. If you've listened to any of the Hometown Hot Rodder podcast or any of the lives or any of that, you've heard the term FTC. That's fuck that car. There's times where the Model A you could have picked up for a Big Mac combo.
Yep.
Because FTC. And then there's times where it's like, no, this is the coolest thing since sliced white bread, and I'm going to finish it. That car will be done. Stay tuned for an announcement at the end of this episode on why that car will remain here. But it was just awesome. The experience, everyone was nice. Everyone wanted to talk. Everybody wanted to, and even so much so as we got back to the little camp spot that we were camping at, which was in the fairgrounds where the West Coast Custom Cruising Nationals are.
Yeah.
We didn't even have to drive. Like, it was in the same parking lot. We got back, and me and Brian are like, you tired? And I'm like, no, not really. And he's like, me neither. So we're like, hey, we think we're going to go to San Maria Inn and maybe kind of catch some of those guys that, shout out to Scotto. And, I had a bunch of people reach out and say, hey, you got to go try this. You got to go do this. You definitely got to catch up with this person. And, with the time frame we had, there wasn't a whole lot of time for that.
Yeah.
But I knew San Maria Inn was popping. Or it was when we were doing the cruise. So I'm like, well, let's just go back up there. He's like, all right, cool. So we get up there and met some people. and they're like, hey, we're going to this Lowrider Club's family, house party.
Yeah.
And, my first question, Brian's first question was like, do they know we're coming? And are they cool with us coming? And the people were like, yeah, they should be. And it's like, well, should be doesn't really sound like, And they're like, yeah, it'll be good. It'll be fine. They weren't lying. We walked in the door, and it was like I've known these people for my whole life. Walk in, introduce ourselves. There's 2 Harley motorcycles in the dude's living room. Big president of the car club. And he's like, there's beer in the cooler. There's tequila on the table. Y'all hungry? We can make some tacos. Like, just basically family as soon as we walked in the door, which was super amazing. And Brian's not a drinker. But when the president of a car club tells you that there's beer in the cooler, you drink one. And when he says we're going to do a shot of tequila, you do one. Or 7. So we end up, that starts winding down. Oh, back up. So before we left, since it was just us and we Ubered out, we talked to the security guard because it's a gated entrance.
Yeah.
And we're like, hey, you're going to be here, right? And he was like, yeah, the gate will be dummy locked, but I'll be here. I'm like, okay, cool. So we went, did all this. We get back. That gate is locked, like locked. And this dude is nowhere to be found.
Of course. So,
like, I'm pressing on the gate. Like, neither one of us, me or Brian, is not the skinniest of individuals.
You're not fence hoppers.
Well, no, you couldn't hop this fence. It was probably 12 foot tall.
Oh, geez.
Like, there was over was not an option.
Yeah.
Through, if I could get the gates open enough, through may have been.
Stick an arm through it.
And that's what I was kind of working towards, was like, if I press on the gate, maybe one of us can slide through, because we could see the cars for the security guards. They were just way the fuck over there.
Oh, of course.
So Brian flips his flashlight on his phone, and he's like flashing towards them. And finally, they all come over because somebody's effing with the gate.
Right.
And the lights are flashing, so maybe they should go over and check it out. So we get it, it was like 4:30 in the morning. We get back. Show starts at 7.
Of course.
So we sleep fast, go to the show, get the 55 over there. Todd enters his trailer, his camper trailer. He redid this trailer. It's absolutely beautiful.
And so shiny.
Yes. That was flat sheet metal too. So he rolled every single one of those beads.
Yeah.
Giant beads, not bead roll. Like, just, so park the Woody. We walk around. Literally the coolest cars. And like I said, everybody was like, it was really, really respectful. Like, even the kids. The kids are running around being kids, not near the cars.
Right.
A kid's near a car, he's got his hands behind his back, and he's looking. Pretty sure there was a fight club of little kids. They were in this little tent, and they were wrestling and having a good old time. All the little car clubs or big car clubs even had, like 3 or 4 griddles, and they were making breakfast and having a good time and music, and got to run into Ronnie Ogas. Shout out to him. He sent me back with a bunch of stuff to, to give out, get his name out there. Ran into Vigil, which he ended up camping next to us. In the little campground that we were at. So that was cool. Cruiser Nationwide, where I bought our shirts from.
Yep.
It was just a good time because, yes, me and him were me and Brian were there for the podcast, but it was also something that we had never been to.
Right.
So ran into a bunch of people, and then Steve Boren with 805 Customs had his little van, Metro van. Joker was dope. There was Model A's there. There was bombs.
The Gene Winfield.
There was Gene Winfield and George Burris's they both had their displays there. George Burris's daughter was in there. They had a model car show. Pinstripers.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
I'm saying in the booth, like they had a pinstripe auction.
I thought you meant like the pinstripers that go.
No, there was plenty. There was plenty of
Yeah.
pinstripers there too, but they had like a whole display auction of pinstripe stuff. A bunch of cool vendors, Moon Eyes. There was just everything like that. So me and Brian did our little first walkthrough, and we walked back over by the cars, and was actually just going over to get Ken to, come walk with us. And I had walked away for something, maybe to go to the bathroom or something, but Brian had beat me back. And I'm walking up behind the camper, and Brian's just standing there, and he's kind of looking a little disoriented or a little, off. But I couldn't, whatever. I didn't really know what it was. And I walked up, and Brian's like, the 55's winning something tomorrow. And I was like, serious? He's like, yeah. And so I kind of gave him a hug, and I was like, man, that's badass. Like, and he's like, I just wish my dad was here.
Yeah.
And that kind of got me teared up because, it's things that if it wasn't for my dad, I wouldn't be into cars either. Or maybe I would have found my way, but it,
could have taken you 30 years like it did me.
Yeah. So it meant something. And, Ken now owns the 55, but Brian and at that time Mutt Customs, now Hometown Hot Rodder Garage, did the suspension, the interior, shaving everything, stuff like that. That car represented kind of a bad time, so the car had to go. Ken ended up buying it. It's pretty cool that it stayed in the friend family atmosphere. And Brian got to drive it this weekend, so he hasn't seen the car in 3 years, and he got to hit the switches and be irresponsible at Sandpoint, Idaho with it. And so he got to drive it a little bit, and Ken got the car, and he did a lace roof, and his painter Dave, painted the car back to the original factory color white. And it still has Brian's dad's chrome reverse wheels on it. So I told Brian, I said, well, your dad's here, man. Like, his wheels are still there, and he knows. But we didn't even know what award the car was getting. Ken didn't even know. He's like, I don't care. It could be the 3 dumbasses from Montana award. I don't care. Like, it's just cool to win something there.
Yeah.
And, Ken said it on the recap on the other podcast. He's like, yeah, we did it backwards. Like, we puffed on the car and shined it up after we won the award.
Yeah.
But yeah, so to see 2 of my homies that have put a lot of time and a lot of money into something, win something at quite possibly the biggest custom car show. And it's West Coast Customs. That car is an East Coast custom.
Yeah.
So to see that's kind of cool. They both did their part. Both got the car there. it was just cool. The one stipulation was that Ken had to clean his white walls before he went across because they do a drive-through awards.
Right.
So the two stipulations was the white walls got to be clean, and he's got to tow Todd's camper across the block. So that was cool. But we were leaving. Me and Brian left 7:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
On Sunday to fly home. And they were planning on leaving about 9:00 to head back because they were driving home.
Right.
Well, with winning an award, 55's got to be there till 2:30. Yeah. So he had to line the car up at 12, do photos and all that.
Yeah.
They ended up not leaving till 4.
Oh, goodness.
And then they still had, I think it was 300 miles to their first stop.
Oh, jeez.
So I think the 54 truck went first, kind of figured out where they were going. Me and Brian jumped in the Woody at 7:00 in the morning. We headed to Bakersfield, left the car at the airport. We get on our planes. And then they come by and pick the car up later. Me and Brian were trying to rack our brains on how we could tell them where the car was going to be parked at because, airport.
Yeah.
Pretty sure you could have seen the Woody car where it was parked from, like, the highway.
Yeah.
I thought Bakersfield was a big city. It's not.
Tiny little airport.
It is a little tiny airport. I thought at one time, I was like, well, good thing I was going through how to fly a plane because I guess I'm flying this joker to Colorado. Got delayed by rain.
Yeah.
The middle of the country apparently decided it was going to pour rain everywhere.
Yeah.
So delayed 30 minutes, delayed about an hour total. Because we had to I had to fly over Brian's house to go to Florida, which he's in Texas. So I had to go down to go over instead of being able to just go cattywampus, which would have sped the trip up a little bit. Yeah. But made it home. Didn't check a bag, so that was just got to kind of go off, and I don't know where I'm going. So I walk out on floor 3. Obviously, this isn't the floor I'm at. So I'm following signs that says ground floor or ground transportation. So I go down to 1 thinking, well, that's the ground. I walk out the door and I'm on the phone with Ashley and I'm like, we have, locations turned on so I can see where she's at.
Yeah.
And I know I'm on the right side of the airport and I know I'm close. So I walk out and I'm like, she's not here. And I was like, wait a second. Are you in my truck? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, is it running? And she goes, yeah. I go, you're above me. Because I could hear the Cummins singing above me.
Well, because you're not allowed to park there. So I'm like, I'm going to just sit here as long as I can, but I'm going to keep the truck running so they don't come looking. Because if you turn the truck off, you're going to know it got turned off.
So got up to her and then made it home, slept all day Monday.
Yep.
Unpacked my bags, figured out that I left 3 Bad Idea shirts somewhere. But it is what it is. I bought some shirts from Ken, supporting a homie, and they may be in the back of the Woody if, Ken, you're listening. It's a 2X, an XL, and a large. So overall it was a good trip. Definitely, a show that I would like to take you to eventually.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm glad you're home. I know you had an epic time and got to see hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands, to be honest, of cars.
Between the 2 shows, it was probably a good 1,500 cars.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you couldn't even... You sent pictures, you posted pictures, we FaceTimed a little bit, but I feel like it still didn't do any of it any justice.
Well, and the atmosphere at both shows were awesome. Like I said in the first recap of the Sandpoint show. It's pouring down rain. People are sitting in lawn chairs. Like it ain't raining.
Yeah. It's no biggie.
Like they don't even acknowledge that they were getting wet, and they're just like looking at the cars. And, it was a good time.
Well, now that you have experienced all this, you've seen all this, you've been to the other coast to see that car world, because it's, from the sounds of it, it's a whole nother world. But has this changed the types of cars that you want to build?
Oh, yeah. I'm a custom guy. I don't know if I'm a shiny paint guy. Mm-hmm. But there was a couple cars that I filed in my folder.
Yeah.
That, and they had hot rod flat paint. I forget who makes the paint, but that's what it's called. It's hot rod flat. They have black and obviously tan, because that 37 Chevrolet that was sitting there, oh my gosh. That car was dope. And it had a set of one-off, or quite possibly the only set of those headlights in existence.
Yeah.
They were built back in the 30s by a dude in California. And I've never seen a set. They're called Woods. I don't know if his name was Wood. I don't know if they look like a... I don't know. But the headlights are dope. If you go on the Facebook, Instagram, it's like a flat sand-colored 37 Chevrolet coupe, and the headlights are like triangles. Mm-hmm. I guess would be the best way to describe them.
Yeah, probably
but super dope.
Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of skirts. Still not a big fan of skirts on a lot of things, but that car had skirts and it looked dope.
They look clean.
Oh yeah. He drug one of them that day.
Oh jeez.
One fell off. One came loose as he was pulling out.
Oh no.
He got it aired up as quick as he could, but
still not enough.
yeah. Well, once he got it all the way up, it was, but
Yeah.
it just took some time. Air rises slow.
Yeah.
Juice for the win.
Well, speaking of juice, has this also changed your vision for Envy?
No, because I was kind of building it. The body may be a little smoother, and it may get actual paint.
We're not doing the tonneau cover rough spray paint.
No, I don't think we're gonna do better.
Why did I say tonneau cover?
I don't know.
I'm glad you knew what I was talking about, though.
No, I think depending, and it'll depend. I mean, there's, I don't claim to be a metal guy. I don't claim to be a bodywork guy.
Yeah.
So it'll depend on how straight I can get it. Mm-hmm. If I need to hide some of those imperfections, then it may end up with some rhino lining or, raptor lining or whatever on it. But the build itself, still in my head the same.
Yeah.
Hiding everything was kind of custom already.
Yeah. Not many people hide that.
No. And it may, I'm not 100% certain on the suspension yet.
Yeah.
I know what I would like to do, but what I see on the front end of that going away from air ride is quite a bit more expensive.
Yeah.
But Mittler Brothers, if you're listening, reach out. Really love to work with you. That's not giving away too much, because Mittler Brothers sells a lot of stuff, but that's mostly tools. Yeah, I don't think, I never really was building, like everyone says I was a rat rod guy. I'm not a rat rod guy. I don't, the new term of rat rod, that's not me. I'm not welding shit just to weld shit. I'm not doing, if my weld's junky, it's not because I did it on purpose. It's because that was the best weld I could put down at that time.
Yeah. No rubber rats and saw blades.
No, we're not. Yeah. So kind of the same way when I picked up the 32 pickup and I told Ryan Gilmore that it was going to be a rat rod, and he was like, "Oh." And then
just crushed him.
And I talked to him, and he was like, "No, that's not a rat rod. That's an unfinished hot rod."
Yeah.
He's like, "That's kind of traditional." So it's kind of going to be that way, custom. Like it's not that car when I had it in my head. Was going to be mine. It wasn't. I wasn't trying to. It definitely ain't a street rod.
Yeah.
It's definitely not going to be the car that looks like you could hop in it and drive cross country in it.
You could, but
it's going to happen. But so it's not the luxurious. It doesn't have a couch interior. It's not the Woody. By the way, is, oh my gosh. Me and Brian slept in that car more often than we didn't. Those seats are comfortable. But yeah, so it's not, I don't think it's changing the way, just kind of a different perception or a different view of the car. Nothing's really going to change on it. But just strive to be better, better the car every time.
Yeah.
So the plan still hasn't changed. It's still going to be, gangster low. It's still going to sit on the ground. Suspension's going to be hidden. It's still getting a small block and a tunnel ram. I didn't see any of those at the show.
But that's what you're aiming for anyway.
I don't want it to be. Yeah. There was a really dope 4-door Model A. And it had some really cool things that I didn't think of. The back doors actually worked.
Yeah.
Even though the tires were in them.
Which I still can't wrap my head around, even though
they pick up like Jeep doors.
I know, and you explained it to me, and like it makes sense, but in the same sense, I'm just
you open the back doors. The back doors on a 4-door Model A are suicide. You open the back doors, and then you just lift them off like a Jeep door or an easy off door. I wonder how
wide that rear end is, though, because we're cutting it close.
It's not wide. You only got to open it to get it outside the latch. Not that wide.
Because, I feel like
but it had a back seat.
Close. Yeah.
I don't think that the back seat was, like, really...
More for looks than use.
Toddlers. Little kids. But it would be somewhere to, like, lay a luggage.
Yeah.
Where we're putting the seats back there.
Yeah.
The driver's seats, or the front seats are going in the back seat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be... I'm excited to see it turn out. Excited for the world to see that car done.
Well, with that being said, I guess it's time to make the big announcement.
So, West Coast Customs Cruise In Nationals 2026. Hometown Hot Rodder, Bad Idea Customs, and the Hot Rod Hangout podcast will be on site.
Whoop whoop.
We will have a booth set up somewhere in the middle where you can come check out 3 cars. I'm building a car. Envy. Brian from the Hometown Hot Rodder, his shop is building a car. And Bad Idea Customs, his shop is building a car. With that being said, we're going to enter them in the show. But bragging rights comes down to people choice. So, if the West Coast Customs feels like we built great cars and they want to give us something for them, that's awesome. But the goal is to just beat your friends. So, the car that Brian is building, I don't know if he's going to release that to the internet or not, but the car that he's building, 100% will be badass. Just won't be as badass as the 29. And whatever car that Ken Sainer with Bad Idea Customs, you better bring something awesome, man. At the end of the day, we are friends. I want everybody to get there. I will say that I will not be towing a camper. And I will say that I will not be camping. And there is a 95% chance that my car will make the 5-day road trip from Florida to Santa Maria, California a year from right now.
Yep.
So that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's a fact. You can take it to the bank. Brian is going to use his shop, and so he should. Ken, he's got his guys.
Yep.
I got a couple people in my corner that are pretty cool. I'm hoping that I won't be the only one on the road trip out there. I'm hoping that there's a couple extra cars that roll out with us or roll out with me. Instead of me flying somewhere and driving somebody else's shit.
Yeah.
Ashley will be flying in to ride in my shit.
Yeah.
But
you pick me up from the airport.
yeah, I'll pick you up from Bakersfield. It'd be easy.
Oh,
Just
goodness.
pull the car out on the tarmac. You just get out.
Oh, goodness.
But yeah, so that's a thing.
Yep.
Me and Brian and Ken were talking about how do you beat this. Well, that's how. So Ken's coming off a win.
Yep.
So he's got that in his bank. Brian had a hand in that car. So partial win. And the podcast with the dream is coming to take all their money. There ain't no money though. But so looking forward to that. I'm hoping that listeners of our show, listeners of the Hometown Hot Rodder, and YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, everything like that, hopefully y'all can get out there, not only to come vote for Envy, but also to come check out a badass show. There was absolutely no way that if you're a car guy, you couldn't have found something there that you liked.
Yeah.
The Gene Winfield exhibit was great. The George Barris, oh my gosh, some of the cars that were in there, like just there was so much there. Cadillac Kings with Cruising Worldwide. Like I said, West Coast Customs brought out. There was bombs. There was. The reason I couldn't find a Suburban for Ashley, they're all out there. 53 or 49 to 54 Chevrolets.
Yeah.
They're out there. But crazy how open-armed everybody was. Mm-hmm. It was just super dope, super cool show. Looking forward to getting back there next year.
I'm looking forward to just being out there for the first time.
If it wasn't for the price of everything and the government, I'd move to California tomorrow. Because their weather, whoo, buddy. The weather was good once we got to California.
Better than Florida.
Yeah. Because it was like 70.
Yeah.
And it got down to like 40s at night, which was a little, But if you're in a hotel, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, if you're anybody like me, I like it cold when I sleep anyway, just more blankets.
Yeah. Doing it in a camper trailer was a little,
not fun.
But I did get upgraded to Todd's camper.
Yeah.
It didn't have a heater, but it's got enough spray foam that as soon as you put two people in there, you were good.
Yeah.
It was a good time. And I look forward to, next year and potentially for future years of trying to do this, and who knows, kind of like everything, who knows where it'll grow to.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, guys, thanks for hopping on and having a listen. We want to take a moment to have I can't even talk anymore. See, this is why I shouldn't host. I'm kidding. But huge shout out to Why Not Fab. Check them out on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Go check out Throttle Addict using the code word Hot Rod for 15% off. Also, be sure to check out Johnny Jalopy and his awesome artwork on Facebook, YouTube, Johnny Jalopy Art, and JohnnyJalopy.com. And, of course, the Brahmagan Media Clan, Low Income Clothing and Photos. Check them out on Facebook and Instagram. And definitely do not want to forget Wrenching for the Future, bringing the kids back into the shop. Check them out on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Well...
And one more big shout out. Thanks again, Ken Sainer with Bad Idea Customs for making the most epic road trip in podcast history, 2025, a reality.
Yep. And I'm going to take a moment to shout out Brian for taking my spot as co-host last week's episode. But till next time, get out, drive your shit.
Hey, that's my line.